to YouTube. Now this is not an online course, so if you guys just decide to watch the YouTube videos and not come in, you're going to miss a lot of information and a lot of help. So if you run into problems, you're not going to have somebody to talk to. Just to go through kind of the rest of the syllabus, we've got 5 assignments worth 100 points apiece. And I think assignment 3 and 4 are actually 50 points apiece. We've got some in-class assignments and one large in-class assignment, which was kind of the old homework 3, which is basically kind of stepping through in a 2-week process an entire building, you know, how to like start from the ground up and move all the way through it. And then the final project will be actually modeling this building with a focus on the atrium space in the front. So by the time we get to that, you all should have the skill level to model this building. Oh, come on in. Reasonable accommodations. If you need disability supportive services, they're in room 306. And just notify me if you need any assistance. They'll ask you to notify me. Attendance is required for this class. We will be taking attendance, which reminds me, I have it here. And similar to other second year level courses, if you miss more than 3 courses or classes, you just want to take control of that. You will be docked a letter grade, I know. So try and make it to class. It'll only benefit you. You are required to have laptops with the software already installed. And it'd be nice to have everybody show up a little bit early, get your computers up and running, and have Revit kind of open and ready to go, because we're going to move fairly quickly in class, but it'll just make it a lot easier and efficient so that we can get through the material that we need to get through. Also on Blackboard is this course information, is kind of more description, and if you haven't downloaded the softwares yet, this is kind of tells you and explains how you can go about getting those softwares on your computer. So yeah, a little more about Blackboard, syllabus and course information. The assignments, right now the in-class 1 assignment is up, and some video tutorials that kind of will, if you need help, we'll step through those. I will also post the recording of the class to a YouTube link, which I haven't set up yet on Blackboard, but it'll be under handouts. At some point we're going to want to utilize the S drive, so I urge you guys to get on there sooner than later. I think we're going to need to install an STL driver add-on plug-in to Revit in order to print to 3D. We're going to have you guys print out a small 3D element fairly quickly in the class. And then this link here, this Revit Tips by Jeremy Rowe, is a really good resource on YouTube. He walks through a lot of things in Revit and describes them very clearly. Sometimes up front in his videos it walks through his own class kind of, and so you can just kind of skip ahead a little bit, but it's a good resource. And then the Revit introduction handout are both available, and so are these as well, but this one is the only one you really need to focus on at this point. There's a handout for keystrokes, So once you start to learn the software, it sometimes becomes quicker to do keystrokes instead of going up to the ribbon and selecting what you want to do. And then the other Revit introduction, we can just open this thing. But it just goes through the simple kind of functions of the layout of Revit, the project information, or the application menu, quick access toolbar, kind of the info center, the ribbon tabs and panels and what those are actually called, and kind of what you can do with those property palettes and stuff. So if you ever, we're going to run through those quickly today, but if you need a reference to go back, this is here on Blackboard for you. Grades will be posted to Blackboard when we get stuff graded. There might be a lag, we'll see. We're going to talk about that later today. So yeah, that's it on the Blackboard side. So BIM and Revit is a BIM software. It's a building information modeling system. And this is one of something that I did over the summer, and just wanted to kind of quickly show you kind of the capabilities of doing schematic design work to design development, rendering, and then jumping right into construction documents for something. This was a project on Forbes and Shady in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. This is the historical building that is there, accurately kind of mocked up, and the client basically had done this to the facade, and it's pretty dilapidated at this point, and so the community asked him to start looking at how he could upgrade the facade to make it look a little nicer without spending a ton of money. That was kind of his goal, and so our proposal was fairly simple, but it was just kind of creating an awning band that goes around here. I don't know why this keeps coming back into. Let me go ahead and hide those. Basically, we proposed taking that down, and using that cornice detail and highlighting it a little bit, and then placing an awning band around this. This is just kind of a generic in-place model that was created. So you really, it was very quick, and all these are kind of in-place models. And what came out of that was, where are my images? 2 renders. This render and this render, and this, I presented these to the client about a week before I left, and so he said, yeah, let's go ahead and do it. Let's get the construction documents done. And so we used Revit as a modeling tool to start, and then we were able to cut a section through this building relatively quickly and start to create a set of construction documents from that, with elevations for demoing things out. A quick demo section. This is linked to it. Every once in a while you'll get that pops up. You probably want to go ahead and save your project in case Revit crashes. I was working on this last night, kind of walking through this, and it crashed on me. And so it's a good idea to save as much as possible. But at any rate, you can see just from that modeling, we were able to kind of create this set of construction documents fairly quickly. And of course I didn't get to finish them, but you know, these are all kind of detail items that come out of stock Revit that you can utilize to draw your details. But this basically, I cut a section through the building, and then using the hide and isolate tool, I was able to create this drawing fairly quickly. And the awning band detail of how that kind of gets put together. And that's kind of it for this project. I'm going to go ahead and close this down. No, I don't think I want to save it. And this other project, I actually just had printed PDFs, but it's a house remodel, and so again, these are kind of the existing floor plans, and then in the roof plan, reflected ceiling plans, existing HVAC kind of schematic plan of what's existing there, and then demo plans. So Revit's a pretty powerful tool, and then these are kind of the additions that we're proposing to make, are these grade walls here. So you can see the difference between the back elevation, what's existing and what we're proposing. And they also asked me to do a new layout for their backyard, which I was super excited to do because I just got a minor in landscape architecture, and at any rate, that was really fun. So, building information modeling system is really, you know, in the past, you had to, you know, update all your drawings. You know, if you change something in elevation, you have to go and change it in floor plan, you have to go and change it in a 3D view, you know, you have to jump into these different softwares. Revit allows you to make the change in one view, and it actually updates in all your other views. And so it's constantly talking to itself and updating all your viewports. So that's kind of what building information modeling is, in the most simplest terms. Typically when you open Revit, you're going to see this home screen. It's fairly self-explanatory, but there's three types of modeling environments in Revit. There's the project environment, family environment, and conceptual mass environment. And each one of these in their own is a pretty powerful tool. We're going to look at today briefly touching on the project environment and the family environment. So these are kind of past projects that you have open. It's a quick access to those projects. Same with the families down here. Families and conceptual masses are kind of grouped together. To open up a new project, you could go to the new button, but it then just asks you what kind of template you want to open. Well, they now have all four templates just right here, and so it's fairly easy to just go ahead and click the architectural template. And so this is what pops up, and yours will probably look a little different than this. The project browser will probably be sitting down here somewhere, and as your file grows, your project browser will grow, and you're constantly in the properties dialog box. This is kind of an instance properties for the viewport or for any object that you have selected. And so what I recommend is just kind of moving this guy over to the side, and in order for that to snap back in, I need to just do this really quickly, because it won't recognize that that's the edge of my screen because I have this other monitor here. So at any rate, so your I don't even know the names of these because I use them. The application menu is this R. This is where you can open projects, save projects, export projects, and such. This is your quick access toolbar up here. Open, save, undo, redo, dimension tool, or measurement tool, dimension tool, 3D viewport. If you click on that, notice now there's, in my project browser, there's a 3D view. Okay. This is the ribbon. On the ribbon there are lots of tabs. We'll get into these a little bit more throughout the class. And then just kind of click on the wall tool and you'll see the modified tab pops up, which gives you a little more capabilities of drawing different things. And then your modified tab here as well gives you a set of tools that allows you to align, offset, mirror, split lines, array, scale, move, copy, rotate, trim, and a couple more tools through here. And so let's just go ahead and kind of draw some walls. Go back to our level 1 floor plan. So you'll use this to navigate through your different view templates. You can also navigate through them here as well, up in your quick access toolbar. And what happens is Revit opens up multiple windows, and so there'll be windows behind windows behind windows. If you open up all of them, the program starts to run a little clunky because it's trying to update all those at the same time. You can go ahead and click this Close Hidden Windows, and that goes ahead and closes all the windows behind except for the one that you're viewing. If you have multiple projects open or another family open in the background, when you hit the close button, it won't close those families. It'll keep one of the screens open. So it's really nice if you are working on a family and then load it back into your software and maybe you want to make some changes to it, you can quickly access it instead of kind of hitting this and, well, I don't have any other viewports open, but trying to find it back here. So down here you have your basically explains what you're selecting on, so it just gives you some information about what you're doing, and also kind of next steps as well. This is the graphic toolbar for the particular viewport. You can change the scale of the viewport, kind of define how much information you want to show on the viewport, the graphic display options of the viewport, sun angles, shadows, crop regions. So if maybe you have a ton of stuff on this level 1 but you only really want to focus in on one thing, you can turn the crop box on and crop down to it specifically, and so then that's what only shows on the screen. And then this sunglasses is a temporary hide and isolate. So if you select on something, you can temporarily hide that element or isolate it, or select the whole category and isolate it or hide it, and then you can reset it and it pops back in without having to let's just draw a wall. So we have this wall in here, and if we right click, it gives us, highlight it, right click, and it gives us an option to like hide the element in the view, but then it kind of disappears and you have to hit this little button to go ahead and unhide it, which is a little annoying. So if you want to temporarily hide something, you can use the sunglasses and hide the element. You get this blue square around there, and just a quick click and it resets it. You can also utilize that in a 3D window or any viewport basically. So if you had drawn a bunch of stuff and you have one particular item you want to isolate, maybe export as something, you can do that by using the temporary highlight, temporarily hide tool to do that. Just to kind of go through a little navigation, if you hit your middle mouse button, it pans, and if you're in a 3D view, pans as well. Clicking and dragging to the left, select multiple objects, same to the right. And if you hold down your middle control button, I believe it's the Apple key on Macs, and the middle mouse button, it pans in, or it zooms in and out. And if you use the shift button and the middle mouse button, or the right mouse button, it rotates. And if you select an object, it'll rotate around that object instead of, well, it's a little hard to see without having more stuff, but it doesn't rotate around a specific object, it just rotates around the viewport. This view cube also allows you to rotate in 3D as well. Okay. Oh, all right. So that's kind of a quick introduction to the project environment, and we're going to go ahead and draw a few walls. I'm going to delete this one. I'm going to go up to the wall command, and up in your properties, it has a lot of these instant properties is what these are called here, and they manipulate and change a particular instance. This edit type property actually edits the type of wall itself. And if you hit this down arrow, you'll see there's a lot of different types of walls already established in Revit. We're going to go ahead and just kind of click the generic 6-inch wall type, and just want to quickly draw in. If you click once and then click again, that ends the command. And up here is your options tab, and you can choose how you want to draw your wall. You can draw it from the center line, the core of the center line, the finished face of exterior, finished face of interior, the core face, and the core face of the interior. We're going to just stick with center line for now, and if you double escape, it takes you out of the command completely. If you just single escape, it cancels you drawing walls, but it doesn't take you out of the command itself. I'm going to double escape and select this wall, and you notice that the top constraint is unconnected right now, and it's set to 20 feet. You can change that, but if you want it to set to, like, say, the level 2, select the level 2 from the pull down menu, and now the unconnected height is 10 feet. If I go to my elevation view, you can see that that's the height of level 2. Let's go back to level 1 here. So maybe you want to change the dimensions of this wall. When you highlight it, it gives temporary dimensions. Typically, if you have multiple walls drawn in, it'll dimension, the temporary dimension will be from whatever wall you have highlighted to the next closest object. And since we don't have any more objects, it's kind of hard to describe here. So let me just kind of click a few more, and I'm going to go ahead and just change the wall here to maybe a something that's curved. And if you're in the tool itself and you want to do a type an exact dimension, you can say, okay, I want a 12-foot radius, and hit enter, and it will do that for you. The other thing is these arrows here demark the exterior of the wall. So right now this is the exterior side of this wall. Just kind of look at that in 3D. You can see that these two walls actually were drawn with an unconstrained height. So let's go ahead and select those and just move them down to level 2. It's a pretty plain wall. Maybe we want some more detail in it. We're gonna jump into no, let's go back, sorry. And okay, so now that I've selected this line, you can see this other temporary dimension has shown up, and it's centered to the center line of the wall. But if you click on this guy, you can change by hitting the tab button here to maybe you want a dimension to the interior of that wall, or hitting the tab button you can dimension to the interior of that wall. And you can also click these and change the dimension of them. And say we don't, yeah, it's not going to let me change that temporary dimension. There we go. Maybe I want it to the outside of that wall instead. Just go 15 feet. And also when you keystroke in dimensions, it recognizes feet and inches. So if we go 15 and then a space and say 6, it'll create, it'll do 6 inches. And if you want that to be even more specific, 15, 6, and maybe 1/3, you just put a space in between and it recognizes that. Okay. Let's also change this dimension to maybe like 5 feet. Yeah. Okay. So at this point, I want to kind of jump into a 2D parametric reveal family that we're just going to apply to this wall. And this is going to be part of the in-class assignment. So this wall, these 3 walls, and what we're going to do today is what you're going to turn in by Thursday of next Thursday. Alright. So to navigate through here, I'm going to click on the View button, and on the very right side of the ribbon you have this User Interface tool. And if you ever you know, close out of these guys, this is where you find them again. You can highlight them and get them back. Okay, so that's under the View tab in your ribbon under User Interface. Also, if you click the recent files, it takes you back to this home page. Okay? And we're going to go ahead and create a new family type right now. And it brings up this list of families. These are all kind of preset, predefined families that gives you a lot of different options once you open each one. But we're going to go down to this profile reveal and open that up. And when you do that, you'll notice that your ribbon changes, that the tools change. You have a few of the same, but the Create tab now just gives you an option for 2D line work. And that's because this is we're in a 2D profile that will then be swept along a path. And so you really don't have a whole lot of options in this family type, but it's great if you want to create a custom wall with reveals or sweeps along the wall. Like, so maybe you want to create this in your wall type, or the baseboard on your wall type, and not have to draw it every single time on every single wall. These tools will allow you to create a wall type that has this embedded in it, basically, so you don't have to redraw it again over and over again. So in this window you have what's called these reference lines, and this vertical one, this reference plane, denotes the face of the wall, and the right side, on the right side is the wall and what you'd be cutting through, and this is kind of a center mark for whatever object you create to sweep along the wall. What I'm going to do here is go to the Create tab and just draw in a rectangle. So we're going to do a fairly simple reveal that kind of looks like, it's just a very simple reveal that'll end up looking like a seam for like a metal panel or something like that for the exterior of the wall. And typically when you are in these kind of tools, you want to create secondary reference planes. If you go to your Create tab, there's a tab here that you can select to create more reference planes, and it'll snap to to being vertical or horizontal. So we're just going to create 3 of those reference planes right now, and the goal of this is to dimension these references so that they flex back and forth, and then attach our model lines to those reference planes so that we can have multiple families. So we only have to draw this thing once. Say we want a 3/4 inch reveal that's 12 inches tall, or 6 inches tall, or 4 inches tall. We only have to draw this thing once, and then we can create parameters so that when we load this family in, you can have these different options. You don't have to go back into this family, re-edit it, and then load it back in. We're going to use the dimension aligned tool, and we're going to simply just click on, so we have those 2 dimensions between this reference line, the centered reference line, and the upper reference line. And to click out of the dimension tool, you just click in the white space. You'll notice there's this little EQ sign here. If we click that, it arbitrarily sets these 2 lines equal to this center line. And that's a pretty powerful tool as well, even though it seems pretty simple. But then we can dimension between the 2 reference lines that are equal to figure out what that dimension is. And similarly to the horizontal here, we can set that dimension as well. And so we're going to go ahead and now use this modify commands to align those lines to the reference lines. And if you hover over these for long enough, they'll kind of show you what the tool does. So if you ever kind of forget what the tool does, it kind of gives you a little video that tells you what the tool does. Also, it shows the quick command keys. It'll disappear, but they're in parentheses there next to the name of it. So if you forget what the quick command key is and you want to get faster, that help you to remember what those quick command keys are. So in order to align, say, this line to this reference line, we first click the reference line and then click, and I'm using the left mouse button, by the way, to click And you'll notice that it aligns it to this line, but then it gives you the option to lock that line to the reference plane. We're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to repeat that process for these other lines, and also to the wall face as well. Okay. As you click through these in the modify and the create tab, this kind of stays the same. This is your properties, this box here, and this will bring up a family type dialog box, and this is where Revit starts to get pretty powerful, and this is in kind of the simplest form, but we want to add parameters to this so that we can start to flex this thing back and forth, so that we can have multiple families within this family. I'm going to click add a parameter, and these parameter type screen pops up, and you can name it. And we're going to name one the height, and I'm going to just use a single letter, because once you get more familiar with this and more complicated parameters that you have, the easier it is to create formulas with only single letter names. Otherwise, you're going to have to type out the name specifically, say, okay, height times width equals length or something like that, and you can start to create formulas. We're not going to do that today, but just as a side note, you want to name stuff fairly simple so that it's not too complicated when you get into writing formulas. And there you can, we're not going to get into these much today. You'll learn more about these in some online tutorials you'll do for assignment 3 and 4. But for now, we're doing a group dimension, a dimension group, and we're defining the length of it. And so here in this, you can either define it as an instance property or a type property. An instance property basically allows you to change one instance of it once it's in the project. And it typically, unless you're doing something really complicated and you want multiple instances of this that are all different, you don't use that much. You really want to stick with just doing a type property. You say okay, and it adds a dimension height here, and right now it's set to 0. I'm going to add another one to just say depth. I'm going to say okay, and both 0, 0, and click apply, nothing happens. I'm going to click out of this and say okay. If I hover over my dimension, in my options tab here, you'll notice this little word that says label and this pull down menu. You'll find that your parameters that you just created are in here. And so I'm going to define this one as the height, and it updates that from 0 to being this really off dimension at the moment. I'm going to go ahead and select the other one and create the depth. I'm going to go back into my family types dialog box, and if I change this depth to say maybe 3/4 of an inch, press apply, you'll notice that this just updated. So the depth of this is now 3/4 of an inch. And the height, we only want that to be 2, whoop, wrong spot. We want that to be maybe 2 inches. I'm going to hit apply. You'll notice that this thing is now 3/4 of an inch deep by 2 inches, and it's centered on this center line. Now, so this is one family type within this family, and we want to label it. So up here, you can label family types and create a new one. And we're just going to call this a reveal. Oh, I've got my space capitalized on. reveal 0.75 of an inch by 2 inches. Say OK. Now I'm going to create another one. Well, let's copy that really quick, Control C, and go a new one, Control V, so I don't have to retype that. And maybe we want it to be 4 inches. And we can update this to be 4 inches. Press Apply. And now we've got two family types. One's a 2-inch reveal, one's a 4-inch reveal. Okay? Maybe let's just do one more for the fun of it. And we'll make this like a foot. I'm just going to press 1 and it'll automatically just make it 1 foot, or you could type in 12 inches and it'll make it a foot as well. Hit Apply. Okay, so now we have all three different sizes of a reveal within this family, and at this point probably want to save this, and I'm right and name it kind of 0.75 inch reveal. I already have one in here, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that because I'm lazy. And we're going to go ahead and load that into our project by clicking that button. That was a little too quick for you guys. I'll go back to my reveal, and it's under the modify. Well, it's in all of them actually. Never really noticed that before till just now. But in the ribbon, you're going to load this into your project. Okay, and under families here in your project browser, if you scroll down to profiles, you'll notice that this reveal is now in here, and all three types are in here as well. So if we select this wall that we just created, we want to edit its type. This dialog box allows you to edit the structure of the wall, and this area is basically the layers of the wall. So if you want to get really complex, and not complex, but make a simple wall structure, so you have your gypsum, your structure of your wall, sheathing, air gap, and a siding, you can do that within the layers of this wall. So we're going to go ahead and insert a couple of these, and you notice in the function of them doesn't change inside the core boundary of this. When you insert, it inserts a duplicate of this initial structure 1 category 6 inches, but it doesn't give a thickness. I'm going to select one of these by selecting the number over here. I'm going to move it down past the core boundary of the wall, and I'm going to type in 5/8 of an inch and change the function of it to be a finish material. And if you hover over the categories and click it, there's that little button that appears. It brings up a material browser, and we're just going to apply. I'm going to type in the search menu here and apply the standard gypsum wallboard to that. And I'm going to select this guy and move him up, and this one up as well. And we're going to do 1/2 inch. Change this to a substrate structure, and we're going to make that material plywood. And I want to make the cut pattern of this material to actually resemble plywood. So I'm going to go down and select plywood as the cut pattern. I'm going to press OK. And then last but not least, we'll just do like a 2-inch thick finish material. And let's just, I don't know, type in marble. And there isn't any in the project at the moment. There's no materials. But what happens when you type in and search for a material, it also searches the project libraries, and it gives you kind of a range of what you might be looking for. If I drag this over, you can see I have some custom materials that automatically come into mine, but we're just going to choose like this Autodesk marble, and we're going to drag it up into the project. And now that it's in the project, we can go ahead and just, you know, do a diagonal. And that just allows me to see the differences in this wall structure. Now you notice here there's a lot of these commands, and you notice this word reveal. We just created a reveal, right? But it's grayed out. You can't get to it. Well, if you hit this preview button, it starts to show the layers of your wall structure here, from exterior to interior. These still are grayed out, but we can change our view to being a section. And now we're looking at this in section, and you can see the layers of this wall that we've just created. So you have your 5/8 inch gypsum board, 6-inch structure, which is uncategorized right now, so it's gray, plywood, and then just a 2-inch marble, we've called it at this point. It's not exactly a correct, right? You really have an airspace in there, but we're not going to create that for the moment. But now we've got these options to modify this wall and section. 20 minutes left. Okay. I'm going to choose the Reveal tab, and here we're going to add one, and under this profile it defaults to default, but you can select profiles that are loaded into the project. And notice our profile that we created is in here. And so I'm just going to select the 2-inch profile and click apply, and you'll notice down here that it drops it from the base on the exterior side, and the distance right now from the ground plane is 0. And we could change this to the interior side if we wanted to. I'm going to leave it on the exterior side, hit apply. And we know it's a 2-inch reveal, and maybe we want it to sit just at 0. So I'm going to type in 1 inch to offset it, or distance from ground plane. And now it's kind of sitting in a place where I want it to be. If I go ahead and select this guy and duplicate it, it duplicates the one that we just made. If we add one, it goes back to default, and that kind of can get a little annoying. So what I like to do is just duplicate multiple ones, and then we can set these at different heights from the base constraint here. Do 9 feet. Hit apply. Okay, if I scroll out with the scroll wheel here, you can start to see that this is now cutting through that marble material. And if we hit OK and OK, and then switch to our 3D view, you'll notice that we've got this nice horizontal reveal now through our wall, and it's set every 3 feet. So you can set it at 4 feet, 6 feet, whatever kind of dimensional standard you want to, set it at for your panelized system. Now you'll notice that we only have horizontal reveals. It's the only way you can, you can't create vertical reveals in your edit type properties of your wall, but we can add them through the wall tool. If you hit this down arrow in the wall tool, you'll notice you have the same option of creating sweeps and reveals. And it defaults again to that default size reveal, and in your placement you can change this to vertical. Now it doesn't like curved walls, it doesn't like to place these horizontals on curved walls. You'll notice if I hit the, oh, I take it back. The other day it wasn't letting me do that. But anyways, Control Z is undo, quick command undo. You can only place one at a time and you have to reset, which gets a little annoying. And that's not really the reveal that we want, right? We want to match the other one. So if we go to our edit type property of the reveal, you'll notice that we can change the profile to our profile family that we loaded in. First though, I'd like to duplicate this. Anytime you're making changes to I think I forgot to mention this in the wall type. Yeah, Ryan's shaking his head at me. You want to create a duplicate and then change the duplicate. You don't necessarily want to change the actual wall type of the initial wall. You always want to make duplicates so that Revit doesn't get confused about things, and same with materials, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So let's just leave this at reveal 2, but well, okay, 0.75 of an inch, so we can define it. And we're going to make 2-inch reveal, and now you can see that I have selected the 2-inch reveal and it matches the other reveal that I have. I'm going to actually place this, do you remember what plane, which direction I was in here? I'm going to open up my north elevation so that I have a flat perspective or drawing of this wall that I want to place this reveal on. Choose my family type that I just created. And I'm going to hit the reset. And I don't want to do that over and over again. That gets quite annoying. But if I select this, if you're not quite getting it, you can tab through the selection with the tab button to select that guy. And you notice there's temporary dimensions again. So maybe I want that to be 2 feet. If I select it, there's an array tool, just kind of like in AutoCAD. You can array objects along a surface. So if you click the array tool and select it, you can type in a specific dimension, 2 feet, 2 inches, press enter, and then it's going to ask you how many of these do you want. And we did 15 feet, so what is that, 6 or so about. So now you can see it's starting to create, go back into 3D, you know, a panelized system. So you can see how you can maybe utilize this in a project where you want to create an exterior finishing system that's a panel. We're also going to explore the opening command tool here. If you want to start manipulating, cutting holes through your wall, or changing what it looks like, you can use this command. It allows you to select a wall, and then by clicking and dragging, you can create holes or openings in your wall. And if we switch back to our north elevation, you can start and go to the modified tab. You can start to like align this to, you know, maybe your reveal size, you know, your panel size. And we could also copy it. So copy command, select it, and press enter. And maybe we want to just copy it a couple times. If you want to copy it multiple times in your options, you can click multiple, and that works with anything. I don't really want to copy another one, but well, didn't like that. Sometimes Revit gives you some errors, and it says can't keep elements joined. It's probably talking about this wall and this wall. Let me go ahead and cancel that because I didn't really want to place that third hole. The other way that you can manipulate this wall and cut holes in it is through an edit profile. If I select that, you'll notice that the wall tool, it changes to being an outline of the wall itself, and you can start to change the way this wall looks. And here's this trim tool, allows you to trim whatever you don't want to, whatever you want to keep is what you want to select. If you don't want to keep it, you don't select it. And I'm just going to, for the fun of it, add something else up here and here. And I'm going to use the split command to split this line, and then the trim command to go ahead and trim and take those sections out. And the other cool thing is same as we did with the profile, we can start dimensioning these guys. Maybe I can't. What's going on here? And if you can't select something, you can tab through to get to it. And right now at the bottom it says model line reference. That's what I have selected. I must not have had that selected. Okay, there we go. And I can set these equal, and now, you know, we've got some regularity here. And this check button allows you to finish the edit tool. The X button cancels it out. Doesn't like that. It's probably because it's messing with that other cut command. So you can also delete that. Now if you select the wall, you'll notice you've got arrows. Nothing ever goes smoothly. Well, you practice this 100 times and then it gets screwed up when you do it. You've got these arrows here that you can pull this guy back and forth if you want. Or you can use the align tool again and say you want to align that plane. That really looks pretty terrible there, but at any rate, you get the idea of what the tool can do. It's fairly basic, but you can see you can start manipulating planes fairly easily. And one more, you can also do this, use this cut a hole in the wall in plan. and click once, click again, and now I've got a doorway kind of in here without actually having to go to the door command and load in a family. You can also select that guy and maneuver him around, or you can go to, alright, I lost what drawing plan I'm in, west elevation, right, to look at that, and you can go to your modify tab and click the dimension tool and dimension this guy, select him, and now you have the option to change that height to a specific height. I'm going to undo that because I selected from the let's try that one more time, and we're going to get the bottom of this doorway opening so that when you do select it and change the height, alright, use the align tool. And lock it. Ryan likes to lock everything. If you lock stuff and start wanting to change, say you want to change it, it'll start giving you these windows that pop up and say this is locked to something else, and you have to kind of go back and figure out what you've locked it to. And so when you start locking things, walls to other walls, dimensions and things, you sometimes run into problems with, okay, you saved it, opened it, 2 days later, and you forget that you locked that wall to another wall, and you go to move it and it gives you a constraint, and you're like, well, okay, you have to think back and go, what did I lock it to? And you have to figure that out and then unlock it to move it. So locking things are good in some instances and bad in other instances. In this instance of changing this, it's probably not a bad idea to lock that one, because you don't, unless you want this to start being just an opening in that wall. Excuse me. You probably want that to stay at the 0. And then, see, it starts giving you constraints. Like, what do I do? Another thing is you can remove the constraint automatically, but doesn't necessarily always work in all instances. So with that, that's pretty much the end of this lesson. Just kind of a brief introductory to the wall tool and a brief introductory to 2D family types. What I'd like you to do is recreate this, and you can make your own custom wall here. You don't have to do it exactly like I did it, but just kind of put some holes in it, change the profile of it, and I wouldn't do any more than what I've just did. You don't need anything extra, but go ahead and save that. Do a file save and save it, and then upload it to Blackboard. Does everybody use Blackboard and know how to upload stuff to that? So save it as like wall type underscore last name, just so we have a reference of your name to your file. Okay? If anybody wants to walk through it with any of the TAs again, we still have 5 minutes left in class, so it's up to you.
Let's do this Thursday.
It's due this Thursday. Yeah, I think the Blackboard cuts off at midnight, 11:59. Okay.
So Cody, if we ran into any problems, we could go through, like, ask you questions next Thursday in class before it's due.
Sure. Yeah.
Do they have the YouTube one?
Oh yeah, the YouTube link is going to be posted on under handouts here. It'll be posted in here. It'll be a direct link to, similar to this page, Jeremy Rowe's page. It'll be a YouTube Architecture 244 Section 1. Today's class and the rest of the classes.
So, like, Charlotte, I have to go to my. That's fine. Okay.